we have a very real problem in small to medium-sized businesses.
The sales team is on the front lines. You've got to listen to what they're saying.
So many businesses, they're stuck not knowing what to do right now. Do you invest in meta ads? What is this thing called ChatGPT? We're going to talk about the catalyst for gaining velocity in your business.
The strategy that we're talking about developing is the thing that's going to set you apart.
We're moving into a space where traditional agency work is going away.
The prioritization of the heart and the core of who you are is just as important as your skill set. You might not always have the answer, but the answer is most certainly in the room.
None of the leadership team would talk. They weren't even present.
I think it's as easy as
Rewind. What you just said was gold. Well, welcome back to another episode of Good Business. Guys, I am so honored to have my dear friend, Casey Baker, all the way in from the great state of Arkansas.
That's how we say
Arkansas.
it.
That's how we say it here in Texas.
Yes.
But thank you, Casey, for coming in. Casey and I met actually in a really interesting way. I was looking at filling a role here, and he made such an impact that we stayed connected for 2 years.
Yeah, it's
about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I finally found the perfect role for him, and it's just been fantastic. But I also have my co-host, Luke Frazier, here. Thank you, Luke.
Cheers. Excited to be here.
For making the hike from your house about 10
It was
feet
a
away.
long walk.
Yeah, long walk. No, we're here in Dripping Springs at Castor Studios, and I am excited to kick off. We're going to talk about velocity today, and specifically, we're going to talk about the catalyst for gaining velocity in your business and that forward momentum. Yeah. So, Casey, thank you for making the flight down. Hope your arms are okay. I've made that joke on this whole
The whole season,
whole season long, making that joke.
It's better than the Velociraptors we're about to talk about.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dad. All right. Casey.
Yes.
All right, let's kick off.
No, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
In the great state of Tejas. That's how we say it everywhere else too.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Okay.
fair.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But no, it's great. And I knew when you said, and we first met and we were talking, I was like, I've got to figure a way to work with this guy. Yeah. And I know you felt the same, so it proved that I'm really good at marketing, that I've convinced you for that for so long. So
Love it. Casey, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background in the marketing space, what you've been doing, what you're doing now, and what you're going to be doing?
For sure. So I started my career in retail. I worked at a large retailer in the state of Arkansas. I'm sure everyone could guess who that might have been. But I was a part of some quarterly downsizing. So I went from retail to the next logical industry, which is the automotive sales industry. Of
course.
And I walked in the season when everyone was literally writing letters for referrals and notes to drive traffic and drive engagement. And I had to question what century we were in first. And then I thought, why don't we do more? So I created the social media accounts for the store, did all this sort of thing, and kind of learned marketing out of necessity.
Yeah.
Ended up driving a whole lot of sales only through social media that grossed about 200% more than every other salesperson there. Realized this thing worked, got headhunted to another dealer group from one dealership to 15. And that was the beginning of my marketing career, then to agencies, to other brands and that sort of thing. So it's just kind of evolved out of needing to take care and feed my family. And I found it enjoyable and just a blast to do. So
I love it. And so what are you doing now, and what are you kind of working towards right now?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm doing marketing and advertising for power sports lender right now in the financial sector. Love the power sports industry too. It's just a blast. I own a motorcycle, so it kind of helps me justify that expense.
Harley all the way. Here we go.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah,
so
we'll need to bring the Harley into the studio next time.
Oh
my
You
gosh.
really missed that.
blast. We got to talk about that too. So but I do that now. I work with a lot of really talented creative folks. I also work with your agency, helping lead the marketing team, which is probably the easiest job I've ever had because they are such talented
They really are.
individuals.
Yeah.
So I basically
So
get the
great.
credit for what they do and help our clients succeed. So
Love it.
that's a privilege.
Love it. Well, and you're also a fractional revenue executive.
sir.
And
Yes,
so that's
sir.
what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
Love it. Luke, would love to just kind of hear your thoughts on when you hear the word fractional revenue executive, what comes to
Yeah.
mind?
We live in such an interesting time because this is still pretty new,
Yeah.
let alone ahead of revenue. Like, I think we heard this at the enterprise level probably 10, 15, 20 years ago, but smaller companies are now picking these roles up. And so a lot of times when we talk about this, it came from most of the time a fractional CMO, so fractional chief marketing officer. And when you hear it, you're like, what, are you doing sales? Are you doing marketing?
Consulting?
Yeah. Are you consulting? Like, are you just going out and selling for me? And so I think there's a lot of confusion as to what is this role. And I think, we serve a lot of service-based, small, medium-sized businesses, 1 to 100 million sometimes. And so we don't see a lot of them, but we've started to see more and more need for it, more and more need for these smaller companies who are oftentimes founder-led sales to have someone else kind of drive traffic for them. And you've had a lot of experience sort of doing that and playing both roles. And I think at least our understanding, I don't know if this is where we want to go yet, but like our understanding is that marketing's great, but if it's not tied to sales, we're missing it. So fractional revenue leader can be the bridge between marketing and sales and how we're serving our clients best.
Absolutely. Well, and for everyone tuning in today, today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk a lot about tactics.
Yeah.
Most podcasts love to talk about philosophy. Honestly, you go to LinkedIn, and I want to say it was Luke, you mentioned something about, hey, not everyone has to be a philosopher on LinkedIn.
Yeah, be a 2-year-old is what I said.
Yeah, be a 2-year-old. I loved that.
Yeah.
Just why,
Yeah.
Daddy?
Yeah.
My 4-year-old and my 8-year-old still
say
say
why,
that.
yeah.
It just doesn't know. But
But we got to get into the practicals.
we do need to get into
Yeah.
practicals. And so what I want to just speak life into, just to jump off of what Luke said, is I believe that we have a very real problem in small to medium-sized businesses. Honestly, you might even see higher size businesses like that, but I'd say let's just talk from 0 to 50 million. So we'll just talk small businesses for right now.
Yeah.
0 to $50 million businesses. You are being attacked by all of these salespeople trying to pitch you on their new products, on their new offerings, and you can't frankly decide what route to take. Do you invest in meta ads? Do you invest in TikTok? What is this thing called ChatGPT? What is AI? How do I leverage that?
Yeah.
And the reality is we're moving into a space where traditional agency work is going away. I mean,
And why? I think we need
Yeah.
to talk about it too, just because because of AI, because of the new technology, it's so much easier and lower cost to get access to some
case
of
in
these
point,
things.
if you want to build an app in the past, I remember we quoted the app for Chipotle back in 2016, the ordering app, and it was, I want to say around $2.5 million was the bid that we gave. The same functionality of that app that we gave to Chipotle back in the mid 2010s, you can create in a night now.
Yeah.
Just while you're sitting on your bed at night watching a show,
With the right prompting.
With the
you
right
could
prompting, you
literally
can do
deliver
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what we're moving into is a lot of the technical work that used to take months and months and months and hundreds of man hours now can be done as long as you have the right strategy, as long as you have that right prompt. And so what I firmly believe is you've got this melding of the marketing and sales departments, and you've got this AI component that's shifting the way we do business, making us more efficient, increasing our ability. I love what Travis said on a previous episode, increasing our or maximizing our authority is essentially what he was saying. So if you have authority now, all that AI is going to do is just maximize
It's
that.
going to help you elevate and expand it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what you as a business owner have to consider is, how do you have someone that can come in that is aware of all of these tools, that is capable of setting that strategy and saying, all right, this is what we're going to do.
That's right. That's right.
Historically, you need to hire a CMO for that. That's going to cost you 6 figures at least, and maybe even some equity. And that's just not necessary anymore.
Yeah.
And so, especially for the 0 to 50 million, you don't have the capacity to hire someone that isn't also executing at the same time. So just having someone with the theory and not actually following through. And so what we're going to talk about today is what I'm launching this fall is my new book, Velocity. And it's the Velocity framework. It's the heart, heading, hustle components. And we're going to talk about how all of that is essential for the for a successful engagement with a fractional revenue executive. And what used to be 6 figures, you can do for a fraction of the cost. And you're also bringing in someone who has a wealth of knowledge that's actively involved in other businesses as well, whether in your industry or outside of your industry, so that they can have a clear understanding of how to respond. Because if you just have someone that's siloed out in your business, maybe they've worked at one other company prior. Well, they're not going to have the same knowledge base that someone who's worked at 20 companies simultaneously has, because they don't understand the market. They don't understand the economy. If they see one industry dropping over here and the other one raising over here, what's the reason? And so you want to just have those critical thinkers, those A players on your team, and it'd be great to not have to pay 6 figures for that. So with that in mind, what I'd love to do is just talk to an actual FRE right here, Casey, who's helping implement that. And so I'd love to just kick off with the first part of that framework, the heart component. What would you say is the definition of that heart component as you're thinking about deploying it for a client?
I think the prioritization of the heart and the core of who you are as an executive is probably just as important as your skill set and your competency from a knowing audience targeting, placements, campaigns to run, details, even A/B testing parameters. I think if your heart is right, your culture is right, everything else stems from that, right? So you mentioned AI. You mentioned having more data points, 20 companies versus one, experience-wise, and the economics of all that and how that impacts. I think you're not only saving money in your P&L from a fractional standpoint, you're getting higher quality too.
Absolutely.
So I think the heart is definitive of that, and the humility that it is required. And again, the opposite of humility isn't pride, it's selfishness. And if I could come in to your organization and help, this isn't a sales pitch, but if I can come into your organization and help identify the problem from an honest and genuine and partner, I care about your business perspective, it eliminates the owner bias, right? It eliminates the sales trying to protect their job, the marketing trying to protect their bottom line or their budgets. And it's a genuine assessment, a core, like the heart of repentance, if you will, right? You have to admit the reality of the situation. And I think that's where heart comes into play, right?
100%.
It makes me curious, because if we're talking revenue here, and our first step is like, hey, let's talk about culture. Why is it, Casey, that we do go here first? And what would you say to business owners? And I'm thinking about a lot of clients that we've had that that have brought us on, that are like, they go to an industry event, they see someone else winning in another area, and so they're like, oh, let's go deploy this tactic here. And of course it never really works because you don't have a full strategy. So talk to me about why the heart element is the best first step when it comes to revenue. It's a hard disconnect for a lot of business owners.
It feels like a hard disconnect.
At first,
but I think a tactical application of that is just having, and we might talk about this too, just having short-term goals. If you just take it quarter by quarter, you might go up, you might go down, but you're at the whim of every quarter. And if you miss, you're trying to make up ground the next quarter. Then you miss again, and then 12 months go by, and you're upside down from where you were previously from a revenue standpoint because your focus is short term. I think the focus on the heart and the culture and the core and empowering your team, having the right people in the right seats, I think that is... My mom always said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I think that is defining the elephant.
Define the elephant.
And every weekly meeting, every monthly goal is the bite and the plate and the way you progress to get there.
Really good.
So it's a sustainable move.
Well, so thinking about the framework from a big picture, you've got the heart component, you've got the heading component, you've got the hustle component. So heart is, to what we were just talking about, the people factor, the culture factor, understanding what are the core values that guide the company as a whole. Excuse me. If anyone out there listening in has ever heard of the EOS framework, a brilliant man named Gino Wickman wrote a book called Traction a little bit over a decade ago, and it has... it's still changing the lives of business owners.
That's right.
I love the framework. It is critical. If you have not implemented it, talk to an implementer. Go do it right now. Rod Smith, shout out. Steven, producer. I know you're behind the camera over there. Can you make sure that we get a link to the episode of Rod just popping up right here? Awesome. Right here. Awesome. Cool. But yeah, go watch that episode with Rod Smith, great implementer out of San Antonio, Texas. But EOS is a baseline. One of the historical complaints about EOS is that the marketing component and the revenue component has always been like, pull it out of thin air. It's like, it's good, but it's not complete. And so when I sat down about 3 years ago to think, how do I serve my clients? Because we've been implementing this FRE program in one capacity or another for about 3 years now. When I sat down, I was like, okay, we need to build out the marketing and revenue side of EOS. Now, we're not officially tied to EOS in any way, shape, or form, but what I will say is this is step 2. So you go through EOS, you establish the baseline, you say, hey, this is where I want to be. Then you can actually grow towards that. And so historically, even when I started implementing EOS back in 2016, I think, we would put in big, hairy, audacious goals, $500 billion. And then we were back, oh yeah, we could totally make that happen. And yeah, I can see a path to $500 billion. I mean, obviously,
That's
like
awesome.
you just
Good for you
throw
guys.
stuff on the wall. But if you don't have someone to help execute on that and implement that, then it's just, I mean, honestly, it's just pride. That's all it is.
Absolutely.
It's just, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go there. I'm going to accomplish this. And more often than not, people don't. And when they're sitting down trying to figure out what is a realistic number to target in regard to revenue generation or profitability, they set the target, but they don't know how to get there. And so having an FRE comes in and builds out the velocity framework on top of that. And so we start with the heart. The heading component is making sure that all of the elements of what you've done on the EOS side are solid. So where are we going in the next 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, 1 year? And then setting those clear systems in place of radical hospitality, serving your customers well, of making sure that your team is cared for on a recurring basis. That's normally just like a 6-month time frame to establish your heading. And then you move into the hustle. Because without hustle, the heading is pointless. It's kind of like if you're sailing and you have no wind at your back, guess what? You're going nowhere. And unfortunately, there's very few businesses or industries out there where there is wind at your back. You're facing headwinds.
That's right.
And so you're pulling out the oars and you're rowing. And the only way you're going to actually make progress is if you stick the oar in the water and you do it in rhythm with one another, and you just keep on going and you keep on going. And so having consistency and reliability of information gathering so that you can make informed decisions and just continue that cycle quarterly, that's the hustle framework. And what I've seen is, on average, the clients that have implemented this have grown between 5x and 20x over the first 18 months. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's simply because they were just spinning their wheels.
Right.
One person was rowing on one side. I mean, you guys can see it. I mean, maybe I'll get a cartoon right now.
They either, to your point, they either didn't have the right navigation, which really is that heading piece that you're talking about, and having the heart and the culture, or they weren't rowing together.
Yeah.
And it's either one of those two things. And you're right, without these three pieces together, working in tandem, working in a linear fashion throughout the year, you're going to miss it.
And I have to be honest, as a fractional, adding that external input really adds clarity, right? It's like mediation for couples counseling,
so true.
It's
Really
just
good
having that
therapist for
third
business,
party come in and say, I know you think this is a problem, but here's the problem. And when you say 5 to 20x return, I know you're saying that conservatively. I've experienced 40 to 60x return, because you not only straighten the heart, have the people in the right seats in the boat, you not only have the right navigation in the direction you're going, you add a motor to the boat because they haven't considered this opportunity, and then you're going 100 miles in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's something to consider there too.
No, that's great. So what I'm excited about is so many businesses, they're kind of stuck not knowing what to do right now. They may have seen some success, and maybe they have more modest goals, and that's okay too. Maybe you just want to grow 20% year over year. That's totally fine. But setting that clear direction and working backwards, beginning with the end in mind, that is key. So Casey, in your experience, I'd love just to kind of put the spotlight on you for a second. When it comes to that heart component, specifically as it relates to that word humility that you talked about, what would you say are some practical ways that leaders can practice humility on their team and in their general running of the business? And what is the outcome of that? And why is humility so important? I know I just gave you like 7 questions, but there you go. Pick whichever one you want.
No, that's great. Humility is important. I think a practical way to apply it is to realize you might not always have the answer. I know this is really philosophical. We wanted to get tactical, but there's a step here. Really, you might not have the answer, but the answer is most certainly in the room. Right. So admit that there's someone that might have the solution, might have an idea you haven't tried that could be valuable to turn in that direction and help you drive. I think from a practicality standpoint, practicing humility is something that you are, right? It's who you are, and the decisiveness and the decisions to take that action are what you do. I think being willing to apologize for past mistakes, for admitting you haven't gotten that wrong. And that's what it takes for someone to bring in a fractional. Say, I admit something's off. And team, I'm sorry. I want us to grow. I want to promote you, so-and-so, right? I want us to have opportunities. But I, as a leader, have not maybe failed, but I've missed the mark, and I need to get better. So I want to apologize to you, but we're going to move in this direction.
That's really good. Yeah, it starts with top down. It starts with that leader moving first.
Love it. One example that I use in the book is one of the most awkward leadership team meetings I've ever had with a client. We were sitting in a room, a virtual room. There was folks in Maine and California and Chicago, and then the new owner of the company here in Texas. And it was by far the most awkward conversation because none of the leadership team would talk. It was
really
absolutely, one of those moments where you're like, can I just press the leave button? I don't want to be in this meeting anymore. It's so awkward. So what had happened was this business was floundering. It was in the software business. It was floundering. They were treating it as a lifestyle company. The CEO, the founder of the business, was treating it as a lifestyle company. So eating everything that they caught. And it was putting a lot of strain on the rest of the team. But what put the most strain was actually the CEO who founded the company and sold the company because he wanted to increase the value of his lifestyle. And he was always the smartest person in the room. And if anyone had an idea, it would instantly be like, no, this is why that's a bad idea. It was not, okay, well, let's explore that. It was just squash it. So the director of operations and the director of customer service, you could tell they weren't even present on the call. And so it was just the CEO talking the entire time. What ended up happening, unfortunately, is there was just a lot of toxicity. So no one would talk during the meetings, but they would talk behind the back of the CEO because that CEO was just, it was not humble. And eventually the new owner who had just bought the company, he was like, this is not going to work. So he fired the entire executive team.
Wow.
They're all gone. And we implemented parts of the FRE program. And within a matter of, 2 months, they landed a client that tripled the size of their business.
Wow.
And it was purely because that toxicity in the leadership team was just so destructive.
Oh man.
No one could share any new ideas, and the CEO was just thinking, how can I make more money so I can go buy a fancy car? So what I think is key in that example and the thousands of other examples that I know we've all experienced is the CEO, top down, has to have the humility to say, I'm not the smartest person in the room. There are other people I can trust, I can rely on. And especially if you're a founder CEO, which most 0 to 50 million companies, your CEO is your founder, typically. If you're still in that seat, honestly, you're bearing too much weight. Like, you need to share the load and share the load with people smarter than you.
That's right.
And I think if everybody comes to the table saying, I have something to learn, then you're going to be really successful. So
I think it requires a self-assessment too, because there are some of those founding CEOs that are doing well and their success in their company. They're growing, and it might be an awkward meeting here and there, but people are putting up with it because they have opportunity and there's growth, but there is that talk and it's starting to taint the culture. And this is why heart is the priority in this. Maybe they think everything's going well, but they're just speeding up to the edge of a waterfall. You know what I'm saying? So I think you really have to have that introspective, is that even a word? Maybe, but you have to have that introspection to really say, okay, things are okay, but what happens when they're not? And where do we need to go? What do we need to consider for that?
Yeah, it's powerful.
Love it. All right, so let's switch to heading. So obviously, when I first came to UKC and I was like, hey, I believe that marketing and sales need to be one unit, one department. You were like,
duh. It's funny. I know, and it's funny, and maybe we need to cut this, but you get credit for writing the book. You get credit for doing all of this stuff that, honestly, you've been doing for over a decade. I've been doing this for over a decade. You're just putting words to it. And it's so needed, especially today. This is where things are going. But yes, integration of sales and marketing. And it's so funny. It took me 10 years into my career. I was always asking, why are sales and marketing on the same? Why are they together? Why are they usually in the same department? And it wasn't until I was working for a home builder that I realized why. Because marketing actually enabled sales to do what they need to do, drove sales leads to close, and then nurtured those leads. So it's this ecosystem of neighbors that need to work well together, or you're going to hate where you live. So it's funny. It was eye-opening to me, but the duh came later. But once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, I'm so anti-CMO, which sounds crazy for being a marketing agency owner, but and it's not that I'm against, if there's a CMO watching, I'm not against you.
We love you.
We
love you a lot. But what I'm saying is we need to enable the CMO to have control, leadership over sales.
That's really good.
So if you have the marketing department and they're not in sync with sales, and you've got the huge barrier and they're siloed out, it will fail.
Yeah.
And
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think there's a biblical principle to this too. If marketing can work on serving sales and sales can work on serving marketing,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
only going to be more successful and grow. You know, you're going to love each other.
Yeah. Well, and enabling this, the CEO, the founder, to have confidence. Hey, I know when to hire my next salesperson because my chief revenue officer or my fractional revenue executive is saying, hey, we're about to do this marketing initiative. We need to make sure we have salespeople to handle the leads that are about to come in. If you don't have that, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's just a complete failure.
Yep.
And it's worthless.
Well, it's interesting because right now in the landscape of small to medium-sized businesses who've actually had a CMO, we're seeing a lot of either A, CMOs taken off leadership team, which is wild, or B, they're just taken off the team entirely because business isn't growing, AI is coming out, we can do this on our own, sales is kind of already doing it, and there isn't a holistic collaboration going on. And I think that's where some of those tactics come in, which I'm really curious about. And I know we're doing and you're working on. What is that first step to get the heading correct for those two teams in that, you know, sort of sub 6 month process as we go on? So
how to get them aligned, I think is just, this is a challenge. It's a great question.
There's a lot here, but what is the first thing we're doing typically?
I think that's where the third party perspective can come in. Because sales within the organization is always going to argue they have more tenure, they know better, right? They know their customer because they're closing them.
Yeah.
Marketing internally, even if they've been disempowered, like you mentioned, is going to be like, we're here, we know our brand, so we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
The third party person can come in and say, absolutely you do, but let me help guide you with factors you might not have considered. Let me help advise you. And you have to earn trust and respect for both those organizations, but you can do so. I love that I had a leader in corporate retail tell me you have to be appropriately aggressive. And it's one of those things where you could be humble, but you also have to be decisive.
Yeah,
and those two things don't conflict. In fact, they can complement each other if you do it well. And that earns you respect and trust from both teams. And I think that's where it starts. You start slow in the org, introduce yourself, show why you're credible, and then you pull ideas from the teams to empower them. And then you have that alignment to move forward and do your initial assessment and find out identify the issues, right?
Yeah. You know, I've worked with, while you were talking, I was thinking about it. I've worked with 3 billionaires over my career, and I've asked each of them, what made you successful? And those 3 billionaires all said practically the same thing. They said, I'm not actually that smart. I surround myself with smart people and I am incredibly decisive. And so when they walk in the room, it's not because they're rich that they have a very big presence. It's because they have a big presence and they know exactly what they want and exactly where they're going. So if you want to be in that category, you've got to know that you are not the smartest person in the room. You surround yourself with those people and you are incredibly decisive because that's what those smart people want you to do. They want decisions. They want decisiveness. So the best way when you're thinking about heading, and I'm actually about to go into a coaching session next week with one of our clients, long-term clients, who is just going through the FRE program. And the very first step is audit and intake. We go through the process of evaluating everything. We're like, show me your finances, show me your sales staff, show me all of the metrics from every aspect of your business. We are on the leadership team. We're not a third-party contractor. Treat us like an employee, but you don't pay us like an employee.
That's right.
And we get to see everything. So behind the curtain, we look at everything, we do an analysis, and we say, okay, with all of this in mind, and with everything that you said you wanted to accomplish right now, this is what we're going to plan. And so what I'm presenting next week is, hey, here's the year-long plan on how we're going to get to where you're trying to go. You said you wanted to hit this revenue target. And you wanted this profitability. Well, this is the only way that it's going to happen. And let's figure it out. And so that's the whole point of the heading framework. And so then we go through cycles of, all right, well, let's deep dive into each of these aspects. And that's why it takes 6 months to establish your very first heading. But once that's done, you move into quarterly cycles. So and I navigated away from my question list because I want to make sure there's so much packed into this episode. And I'm already getting a note from Steven saying, hey, you're at time. I don't care. Where can he go? I love you, Steven. So when it comes to the heading, what challenges would you say typically show up when we move out of heading into that 90-day cycle? What is the 90-day goal, the accountability component? What are those issues that we can kind of address right now?
Yeah, I'd say some of my biggest challenges have been there's too much opportunity, right? So I think as that third party person you mentioned that comes in, we have an honest assessment and an honest review of the business, right? It's really unbiased, and because we're third party, like you might treat us like an employee, but we have the boldness and the confidence to share with you things that most employees won't share you because you control their family's health care. You can, all these different things, you know, so we can confidently say, we want to do what's right for your business, and this is going to hurt. I might have deviated a little from the question, but I think one of the biggest challenges is too much opportunity. And you can't just hit the team with everything at once either. Because they're like, I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to do all this. And you want me to do these 50 things. And it might be a 5-year plan. But you're adding to scope. You've got change management is another skill that I think a fractional brings that most people don't understand, especially if you make just a minor tweak. It can be detrimental to people's routine and their way of doing things. But as a fractional, you have that ability to say, we are going to take baby steps in this direction. And then you look 12 months later and you've accomplished these things that they're now running marathons, metaphorically speaking. So if you told them that's what they were doing, you never would have made progress there.
And I want everyone to just rewind, however long that was, a minute. And I want you to listen to everything Casey just said one more time, because what you just said was gold. I struggle with this as a visionary. I lean more visionary than integrator on the what is it, the crystallizer assessment with EOS. And so I'm always the big ideas guy. But I actually had this exact conversation with one of my FRE clients the other day. It's a national nonprofit, and we just kept on running into this. Everyone's burning out. Everyone's got so much going on. And I was like, wait a second. I'm going to start saying no to you. The answer is no. We're not doing that initiative. What you're asking to do is not a quarterly target. That is a 3-year plan. And you're burning your team out because of it. And so I think you're absolutely right. The opportunities are always before you. And having someone who is not stuck in the office politics, not worried about their relationship with the other staff. You're there to accomplish a goal. And so you're not afraid to say, hey, I think you need to fire this person. Or, hey, I think you need to hire this person or move this person around. I've had those conversations a lot recently, unfortunately. But literally every time that person gets fired, the leadership team is like, oh, wow. Thank you. We didn't realize, but now we can breathe. And so when you bring in that perspective, you're absolutely right. That is so valuable. So it's like this hybrid between executive coaching and tactical engagement.
Well, it really is.
And I think that's where we're headed as a market, as an industry right now. And those two are going to be blended. And so having a good framework, a good plan to go off of.
Agreed.
I think one of the things that is really important to think about too is typically in the CMO world, you've had that person owning all of the marketing channels. So where are my leads coming in from, website, paid, conference, whatever, but then the sales has sort of their own idea of what a marketing channel would be. And I think the whole idea of a fractional revenue executive is that they're looking at a holistic picture of what channels technically are in the old terms of things. And most of it now is, do I have the right people in the right seats? And those people are in and of themselves channels. They're
Yeah.
the right salespeople doing the right thing,
Absolutely.
operationally making the right decisions, given the vision, given the heading and the heart that we're all agreed upon. And then as the fractional revenue executive, you're able to say, Joe, you're in charge of this channel. You're running this. This is your 90-day goal, and that's what I want you to achieve. And to your point, out of the 20 channels we could achieve over the next 5 years, well, I only have enough resource. As a fractional revenue executive, I can say to the CEO, we only have enough resource to hit this, and this is what we're going to lock into for 6 months, but have the flexibility to know, I know the market's changing.
Yep.
Because you're involved in other businesses, I can see which buttons we need to press a little harder on, and we can go, or just, hey, let's hit the brake, to your point. And I think that's like the freeing part for a founder to know that someone is managing all of these channels and pressing go or stop and understanding the tactics that they need to lean into there a little bit more. Otherwise, we get back to the floundering, that the original problem that this founder is probably feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, you gave me a book as Will
Gadara.
The unreasonable
hospitality.
Yeah.
The way he does things, and there's a point here.
Yeah.
I think as a fractional, you have to bake in some capacity too.
That's right.
To allow pet projects. So one example is for an organization I work with, the sales team is on the front lines.
Yeah.
You've got to respect that. You've got to listen to what they're saying. And they might want a one-pager for every single thing. Everything, and of course, it's a 5-page one-pager, but they want a one-pager for everything.
Yeah, marketing should have it
it's
tomorrow.
so true.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right?
So true.
Sorry, salespeople, love you, but it's funny. But marketing might always just shut down ideas
That's
because we know better.
Yeah,
However, you have to listen to them and empower them, because what came from this organization was sales wanted point of purchase materials and signage in stores. And I'm like, there's something there. So I took that as a pet project, created some signage in different capacities, labeled them with distinct links to show and track the data, right? Measure results. And we showed that these banners actually performed really well. So, hey, sales, that's a great point. And in fact, we tested the store branding and we tested our own branding in both placements.
Yeah.
So we realized the table tents, not valuable, right? They're a dime a dozen. People just crush them, walk over them. The banners, however, got people's attention, and people really didn't care about the store branding. They cared about our company's branding. So guess what? We're rolling out to about 20 or 30 other stores this. And when we get pushback from a store saying, we love our brand, so we need to do blah, blah, blah. That's a great point. And we love your brand too, but here's what we've shown drove results. Right?
Yeah.
So sales came up with that idea. We tested and refined it and proved it with data.
Right.
And now we have something that we roll out.
Exactly.
And as a part of our marketing plan over here.
That's so good.
So you always have to open for that, have that capacity.
Yeah.
Love it.
that.
Love it. So y'all know Marcus Lemonis?
Yes.
Heard of
Okay.
him,
Yeah.
The Prophet, one of my favorite shows
Absolutely.
ever. I can't wait until next season comes out, but I don't know if he's coming out with another one. But he's always in this mindset of people, process, profit. So in this third phase of the book, we talk about hustle.
Yeah.
I often, I was so close to calling it profit, but I didn't want to lose the alliteration of the HHH. But anyway,
Marketer heart.
yeah. That's right. But yeah, hustle is where your profit comes in.
Yeah.
Hustle is when you have the rhythm. So you've got the heading, you've got the right team behind you. So at this stage in your business, you're going to focus on quarterlies, on weeklies, and on dailies. So what I'd love to do is just spend some time talking about what a good rhythm looks like for a business once they've got that right heading and how often they should revisit it. This is where we break a little bit from what the EOS framework is. And even I talk about this in the book. I actually am anti-quarterly reviews of team members. I'm more, let's focus on monthly so that the team is actually getting regular feedback. And so you're working on building them up, not just on saying plus, plus, minus, or minus, but you're actually saying, hey, here are the areas that you're responsible for. Here's what you're you're doing really well. Here's what you're not doing well. And so just score them 1 to 5.
Yeah.
And that has been really helpful just to give them confidence. So instead of them being nervous going into that quarterly, they're feeling empowered going into their monthly because they own that meeting. So meeting structure is a part of your regular hustle.
Yep.
And so your team component, it isn't just this linear thing. It's very cyclical. So what I'd love to do is just spend some time talking about that. What have you seen? What happened to, or let me rephrase that. What have both of y'all, because I know both of y'all are implementing this, what have y'all seen happen when you enable your clients with a regular rhythm for the FRE engagement, for revenue generation on the marketing and sales side?
Again, it's funny. You put a name to it, regular rhythm. It's just what has always worked, right? Yeah. And the reason is, the purpose is, that's where you come in with added value. The purpose is it keeps the vision in front of the client, right? Yeah. Yeah. You establish the number, if you will, right? Everyone in the team has a number they're targeting, whether it's this many leads from Meta, whether it's this much traffic for SEO. Everyone has their number in regard to the client success, all within the context of the annual goal. I've always worked with organizations that have had OKRs, objectives and key results. Yeah. And you have the annual OKRs, then you have the quarterly rocks. That's what we all use. Yeah. And then you have your monthly meeting cadence that can go from leadership has their scorecard, departmental team has their scorecard, the department has their scorecard, and then individuals do. If that is all aligned, then you have rocks that don't really change per se. You might have projects that fit within those rocks. So it's less intimidating and there's less change, if you will. Yeah. It's more of a soft transition on the weekly meeting cadence, all within the context of the larger vision. So you're literally spending some of your time reminding the client what the goal is. Yeah. And as that third party person, it's almost like a doctor's appointment or a haircut where they're coming to you and they know it's on the calendar, they know what they're there for, and that's part of the context of those conversations. Yeah.
Patrick Lencioni calls it the chief reminding officer.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really what this FRE is when it comes to those rhythms. And I really think about this. A few of our clients we've kind of worked through with this. We're actually focusing more, and there's a handful of clients I was just working with yesterday. We're trying to actually focus those rhythms on leading measures rather than lagging measures. And I think this is a big miss in the sales world where those numbers are profit or revenue or number of clients, and those we need to track those numbers. Those are great. Yeah. But on the daily, we need to be looking at what has your volume been here, and we need to understand with those leading measures based on marketing data, are we putting in the right effort in the right places? And that, I think, it gives the FRE peace of mind back to the founder. But to me, that has been the biggest unlock in these daily to monthly, or weekly to monthly to yearly rhythm is knowing that my output is the right effort for the desired result.
Yes.
And if we're not tracking those tangible things, and it might just look like how many LinkedIn connections am I making, or how many signs am I making, shipping those out, how many handwritten notes am I making, how many donuts am I shipping out, all of these things we are considering in our own FRE program for our agency, but those measures are more important to me than the symptoms, the outcomes, because we end up knowing if we end up getting to see if we're putting the effort in those places, we're getting the desired result.
And it adds purpose to every single thing you do. Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing. So,
and it's co-defined with the team instead of a leader saying, I need you to do 100 cold calls today, which is like the typical sales, monologue.
But if you add context to that and say 100 cold calls equal, I'm making this up, 20 appointments would equal 5 new clients. You have purpose to every single phone call from that standpoint, right?
And you're not discouraged when you get a no.
100%.
Right. You're just, okay.
It's
yeah.
like, all right,
know
well,
it.
I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
And I think part
really
of
good.
the FRE framework too is level setting with each department. And that's how you reconcile back to your question about that.
Yeah.
You say, hey, sales, what marketing is working on today, you'll get in a month.
Yeah.
What you
good.
apply that month, we'll get the data for the following month.
Yeah.
So you are in this cycle of supporting each other and
That's so good.
driving leads and traffic and revenue for the organization
Yeah.
that takes time, and you need to understand where you are in that process.
And the key is you're going to always feel urgency.
Always.
And I heard this from, I'm just going to say it's my quote because I can't remember who said it. But urgency is the fuel for your business. And
Yeah.
if you don't have urgency, then you're just going to flounder. So there's got to be urgency. Now, not stress or distress, but urgency. And I think that's an entirely different podcast. But
Yeah.
what I do think is having this mindset of we're not going to do anything half-baked.
Yeah.
We're going to say, hey, look, this is the rhythm that we're going to operate in as a business. And that is going to be what helps you avoid team burnout.
Yep.
Because if you are constantly like, no, we need it yesterday. And I'm guilty of this, guys. I am just like, the whole, if anyone on the Good Agency team is hearing this, they're like, no, that's not how things work. But I
Everything's an
know-
emergency. Nothing's an emergency.
No, not that bad. But what I will say is that urgency is got to be tapered with we're going to do it right the first time.
Sure.
And if you don't, and if you're like, well, it's good enough, then you're going to slowly see that actually scale back.
Yeah.
And the good enough is now not going to be fast enough. And so then it's just going to slowly degrade the quality of
Right.
what you're doing.
There's a balance, right?
Yeah.
Like you as a visionary, I'm really curious your perspective, and maybe we continue this later, but I'm really curious as a visionary how you manage the fractional experience. Because as an integrator, it's easy for me to say, hey, everyone has these ideas. Visionary, you have a lot of great ideas.
Yeah.
Funnel them appropriately to the team.
Yeah.
And you organize that. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I've got a repository of a lot of great ideas from visionaries I've worked with before. But how do you apply that slow down to speed up sort of
Yeah.
mentality?
Well, so it's first off, I need to make sure I have a project manager supporting me. Second off, if I have enough clients, then I know I do not have capacity to come up with new ideas.
Gotcha.
So that's the key.
So it holds that in a cage.
That's
I
the
get it.
tension that I have to hold.
Yeah.
Over here, it's like, I can't come up with new ideas
Yeah.
for this client because if I do, that's creating more work for me. And it's going to put me out of scope for the client because I'm only 12, 16, 20 hours a month with a client. So if I create too many ideas, then none of them are going to get done.
Yeah.
So that's how I hold that tension. It's like, I have to stay within scope.
And maybe
So-
that's the beauty of the fractional framework. It
Yeah.
protects you from yourself
Oh,
because
it
it's fractional, but
absolutely
it also
does.
empowers you
Yeah.
to be that third party perspective for the organization.
Yeah. Well, and it takes maturity, and that's why I think the velocity framework is so valuable for new and incoming fractional revenue executives, or maybe you've done it on your own for a while, because it gives you a support system also.
Yeah.
And this is not really what the purpose of this episode's about, but
No, I love
it
that.
does. When this book comes out, I'm really excited because it gives people a community to say, did you go over your hours this
Yeah.
month? Like,
Yeah.
like
That's the accountability.
it's the FRE support group,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and so because I think
FRE Anonymous.
I'm
We'll have a Slack channel
I'm
for
an
that.
FRE, and anyway, but I think that is a valuable thing
Yeah.
because I think about it even in the leadership meetings we're in, it sort of happens between you, Abby, and I that we're trying to balance for our own
Yeah.
agency, and then with your clients, it's if you're in it, and it takes humility, right? Like
Yeah.
if an FRE comes in with humility, it's easier for the CEO to have humility. It's easier for us to go, yeah, we do actually, these 20 ideas, we can only do 5 of them right now.
Yeah.
And so it full circle back
Yeah.
to that heart.
Well, and that's where I love the EOS.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah, that
take
leader,
it full
yeah,
circle.
you have to
You
come
have
back.
to have that VTO
have
issues
to.
list that you address quarterly or
Yeah.
annually, not weekly.
Yep.
The big ideas list can't be something you look at every week.
Yeah.
Because you've got other big ideas
Yeah,
you're
you'll
working
drown.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll drown 100%.
Oh man.
Oh
so
man,
good.
I am.
This is good.
We could talk for like 3
Yeah, I
hours.
think
on
so.
this.
We gotta-
So, Casey, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear and from you as well, Luke.
Yeah.
What is just some practical advice that y'all can give to both executive coaches and fractional leaders out there, marketing strategists that are already doing parts of this? What are some practical tips you can give to them on what to do now? And then for business owners, founder-led businesses, what would you say to them? So
I'd say to the FREs out there that are unlabeled FREs, right? FREs in development. It's as easy as heart, heading, hustle. It really is that easy. And I think to the businesses out there as well, starting with the heart is the priority. And I know we've unpacked that today, but I can't emphasize that enough, that if you get your heart right, if you have a true, genuine assessment, and honestly, fractionals come in with that, say you're the value you add immediately is that unbiased perspective, that third party view to have a honest discussion of where we are so we could map the course to where we want to be.
Yeah, that's
and
really good.
Business owners, I think, having that humility to accept that and ask for that help externally, it's a benefit to your P&L anyway, right? But also I think it's a benefit to your business and your growth in your future.
You know, one of the things I was talking to a $100 million company the other day, and this sort of came out of that conversation. And so this really, for FREs, you need to be doing this, but then for business owners, you have to pause. You got to step back, because the strategy that we're talking about developing through this heart, heading, hustle process, the framework, actually is the thing that's going to set you apart. It's going to be your value proposition as an organization hiring top tier talent. And it's going to be your value proposition to gain new customers. Because if you don't have all of this together, that's why we're talking about full revenue perspective, you're going to miss out. And so I need you just to pause. Maybe rewind this a couple times. When the book comes out, get Velocity, understand it, chat with us, get Casey on your team, and understand that strategy, because it's your sellable value proposition with all of the tech, all of the new developments in the world, all the AI. Everyone has access to it, but no one's going to have access to your strategy.
Absolutely.
One thing to wrap that up too, that's a great point. And I think one thing businesses struggle with is needing to be the expert. And if you'll see all the hiring roles out there, you see social media manager when they really need a fractional. You see
they're not willing to
Google
pay for it,
expert when they really need a fractional. No one knows what SEO is. So I think it's one of those things that you don't have to admit you're wrong. You just bring in this fractional consultant, this assistant, if you will, to help be your subject matter expert. To your point about the billionaires, like, you don't have to have the answer, but you know who does. And that's where it starts.
100%. Man. Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us a little bit longer than usual, but I have no doubt that it was impactful for you. If you would like to get early access or access to this book, depending on when you're watching this episode, visit the website linked in the show notes below, and I'd love to send you a free copy. So just ask that you pay for the cost of shipping. But yeah, I'd love to send you a free copy of my book, Velocity, and go ahead and get on that list on the show notes below. And if you liked this episode, would encourage you to share it with a friend. If you feel like you're a founder and you are like, okay, I know several other founders that would be impacted by the Velocity framework, share this episode with them. And if you're an executive coach or marketing strategist or anyone in between, share this with your networks as well, because this is what's needed in our industry to really help impact the world for good and impact the businesses that need to grow and help serve our world for good. And so with all that being said, if you like this podcast, give us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe now, share it with a friend, and we'll see you guys next time on Good Business.